once told a xeno warlord right before ventilating his skull, "You should have brought more spears." That line made it onto recruitment posters. They slapped my face next to it with the tagline, "Join the Terran Legion. Make new friends, kill old gods." But that moment, that came after 40 hours without sleep, 3 dead squad mates, and a drop so hot we were practically microwaved in our pod. The descent was hell. Every screen in my pod flashed red as we tore through the atmosphere of Theta 6, a mudball planet choking on its own jungle. Mission brief said light resistance. That's intelligence speak for, "We have no goddamn idea." I remember the familiar crunch as retro brakes fired, the shaking stopped, and the hatch blew. Then the screaming started, not ours, theirs, that guttural wet howl that sounded like a bear gargling gravel. I stormed out into knee-high moss, visibility at maybe 10 meters, and immediately slammed into Private Lozano's back. "Contact front," she yelled. I didn't see shit until one of them charged through the mist like a linebacker on bath salts. 8 feet of bone-plated nightmare, eyes glowing like embers, spear raised. Lozano fired. I fired. It didn't matter. That thing bled. Oh, it bled. But it took 3 of us to put it down. Command always says, "Secure the LZ within 5 minutes." We did it in 7. Not bad, considering we were outnumbered 20-1 and surrounded by what looked like angry statues come to life. Still, we had something better than numbers. We had tungsten slugs moving at Mach 7 and 0 respect for local deities. By the time our field medic stapled Private Chan's intestines back into his torso, I knew this op wasn't going to be recon, it was going to be a message. The Confederation told us humans weren't ready for galactic politics. So, we brought politics to their backyard and started handing out high-velocity ballots. The jungle had a smell, not the clean, fresh kind you'd expect from Earth forests. No, this was rot, wet blood, and something floral that somehow made it worse, like someone had spilled perfume in a mass grave. We moved in standard staggered wedge formation, HUD synced, thermal scans twitching. Everything moved, everything wanted to kill us. "You think they know we're not tourists?" Lozano whispered through comms. Her voice was steady. Gallows humor was the only thing keeping us sane. "Maybe they think the armor's cultural," I replied, ducking beneath a hanging vine that looked suspiciously like a tentacle. She chuckled. Then 2 more of them burst from the underbrush. Spear guy number 1 went for the headshot. My auto-surgeting beat him to it. Spear guy number 2 actually got a swing in, carving a gash across my shoulder plate. Bastard had reflexes. I returned the favor by turning his chest into red mist with a triple tap. Then Graves Rule 4 kicked in. Never stand still after you shoot. That's how they get you. Not with a first wave, but the one behind it. We pushed deeper into the green hell. The trees stretched 100 meters high, thick as warships, roots like rib cages jutting from the soil. Above us we kept hearing drums, not electrical, not even coded, actual drums, made from what I later learned were skulls. These weren't dumb animals. They had tactics, formations, and a sense of dramatic flair that would have made a Hollywood director weep with envy. I checked our comms again, still jammed, no uplink to command. That meant we were officially off the leash. I grinned under my helmet. "Well, boys and girls, welcome to the meat grinder," I said, clicking my railgun to full auto. "Hope you brought your appetite. First contact doctrine says you're supposed to identify, observe, and if possible, communicate. Our version of that was identify the threat, observe how it dies, and communicate overwhelming force. That being said, these lizard satyrs weren't just big and angry, they were coordinated. The first clue was the ambush we never saw coming. We were sweeping Sector Delta, thick foliage, poor visibility, usual crap, when Private Yahoo tripped a line trap. Not a landmine. Worse. Something yanked him up, screaming into the trees. Just gone. No time to track him. We barely had a second before the entire tree line erupted with war cries. They didn't charge in a mob. They flanked. They boxed us. They drove us toward a ravine like they'd drawn it up on a hollow map. We fell back hard, laying suppressive fire. The jungle was too thick for clean shots, and their bone armor could take a surprising amount of abuse. "These assholes studied us," I growled, dragging Harker behind cover after he took a spear to the thigh. I wasn't even mad. I was impressed. "They're adapting." Harker groaned. "Can I adapt some painkillers into my bloodstream?" They tried to herd us into kill zones. Tall grass, narrow valleys, natural choke points. Didn't matter. We weren't herd animals. We were Terran Marines. Our medic used a combat drone to tag Sue's signal. Faint but alive. 30 meters up in the canopy. Lozano and I went vertical with grapples, gunning down 2 guards who thought they were hidden. We retrieved what was left of them. He was breathing, barely. One eye gone, arm hanging by threads. Still managed to say, "Fucking hate trees." We learned that day that our enemy didn't fear death. They worshipped it. Each one we killed triggered a chant from the survivors, like they were thanking us. Fine. If they wanted to meet their gods, we'd run a goddamn shuttle service. After the canopy stunt, Command finally got a signal through. Not to extract. Oh no. They sent coordinates. A temple complex. Big one. Apparently our first wave had spotted weird energy readings there before getting torn apart. High Command wanted us to reconnoiter and neutralize as necessary. Which we all knew meant blow it to hell and don't leave a wall standing. We moved fast. No more patrolling, no more cautious sweeps, just full throttle through enemy lines, with fire and tungsten. We loaded up demo packs, rail spike launchers, and anti-fort charges. Our sniper, Burke, said what we were all thinking. Finally, time to do what we trained for, creative demolition. When we breached the perimeter of the temple, we expected sticks and rocks, maybe some mystic hocus-pocus. What we didn't expect was architecture. The kind that looked engineered, stone carved with nano-precision, power conduits disguised as ivy. This wasn't just a place of worship. It was a goddamn data vault. Ancient tech, thousands of years older than the Confederation claimed any of these species could manage. Before we could call it in, the locals swarmed. Hundreds of them, chanting, screaming, some of them on fire. Volunteer? Oh, good, I muttered, flicking my grenade launcher open. Suicidal zealots, just what I needed today. We held the line with heavy fire. Rail rounds punching holes through bone and muscle, each impact kicking up red mist. Once the horde broke, we set charges. And I mean all the charges. Luzanu rigged a chain reaction so big it could have cracked the planet's crust. "Want to say something ceremonial?" she asked me. I thought for a second, then tapped the detonator. I declare this site redeveloped. When the temple blew, the jungle lit up like Judgment Day. Trees snapped like matchsticks. The shockwave hit us so hard my HUD flickered, and I had dirt in places I didn't even know could get dirty in power armor. For a full 5 seconds, none of us said anything. Then Lozano, voice dry as recycled air, muttered, "Think we voided their warranty?" Command finally sent in a drone relay, which meant someone upstairs remembered we existed. Our orders were simple: hold position and await further instructions. So naturally, we cracked open our field rations and passed around a flask Burke had smuggled in his boot. Grain, alcohol, Terran-made, probably banned by 3 interstellar treaties. Tasted like regret and lit our guts on fire. Still better than the protein bricks. The mood was weirdly light. Not happy, not relaxed. Just that strange military calm that settles in when you've survived something that should have killed you. Sue had a fresh augmetic eye. Harker limped around on a printed knee brace. Even our heavy gunner, who barely talked, gave a grunt that we interpreted as a laugh. "So," Lozano said, "anyone want to bet how long before HQ drops another light recon op on us?" I leaned against a boulder and looked at the jungle, now dotted with small fires and smoldering bones. Then my thoughts drifted back. Back to Earth. Back to the docks in Mariner City, before my 3rd deployment. My sister crying quietly while trying to act strong. My old man not showing up. Again. I remembered thinking, at least out there everything wants to kill you honestly. That still held true. Out here, death didn't lie. It just came fast, loud, and with teeth. Burke tossed me the flask again. "Hey, Sarge," he said. "You ever think maybe we're the bad guys?" I took a swig, wiped my mouth. "Only when we win too easy," I replied. "Besides, bad guys don't leave survivors to warn the others." We were halfway through building a forward fire base when the Confederation sent in their delegation. 4 of them floated down in a polished silver skiff, all silky robes, neural tendrils, and condescending auras. One of them, a jellyfish-looking bastard, hovered 6 feet off the ground like gravity was optional. "Ah," Lozano muttered, "here come the participation trophies." Their lead envoy was a tall insectoid diplomat with eyes like wet marbles and a mouth that clicked before it spoke. "Terran unit," it buzzed, "you have committed unauthorized cultural desecration." Burke choked on his protein bar. I didn't laugh, but only because I was too stunned by the sheer audacity of that sentence. "Cultural?" I repeated. "That temple housed tactical data and a weaponized AI? We didn't desecrate a shrine? We neutralized a bomb." They'd tried to play politics, said the species we'd engaged hadn't officially declared war, that we'd gone too far, that our presence was provocative. I listed our casualties, pointed to the still-burning battlefield behind us, and asked if that was provocation too. They didn't respond, just clicked their mandibles and blinked in weird patterns, probably cursing me in their native dialect. Eventually, one of them pulled the bureaucratic trump card. "The Confederation will be filing an incident report." I smiled at that. "Good," I said. "Make sure you include the part where they ambushed us, tried to sacrifice a corporal, and threw themselves into our railgun fire like it was a religious experience." Burke leaned in behind me and added, "Tell them we ran out of body bags again." They left soon after, hovered back up into their floating ship and zipped off into the clouds. We all stood there, watching the sky, silence hanging heavy. Then Harker said, "Bet they file it under Terran aggression, unexplained." We laughed until our stomachs hurt. If they didn't want us fighting, they shouldn't have pointed us at the problem. We thought that was it. Temple down, locals scattered, diplomats pissed, standard op. Command even marked the region contained. So when the seismic reading started, we thought it was aftershock from the demo charges. Turns out, it was something under the temple. Something that didn't like being disturbed. Our seismic specialist, Lieutenant Core, showed us the data on a flickering holotable. There's a structure under the structure, deep, maybe kilometers down, and it's moving. I stared at the readout. Moving how? She gave me a tight-lipped look. Like opening? Sue, now patched up and leaning on a crutch, whispered, "We poked to God, didn't we?" It started with the ground trembling. Birds, or whatever passed for birds, on Theta 6 evacuated in a screeching cloud. Then came the hum. Low frequency, chest shaking, a bass note that made your teeth ache. Our motion sensors pinged a signal beneath us. Big, buried, and it was getting closer. Harker called it boss music. He wasn't wrong. Then came the beacon. A spire of light shot up from the crater where the temple had been, punching through the clouds like a spear. The jungle went quiet. The Confederation's orbital satellites registered the burst and started freaking out. Full evac alert, diplomatic lockdown, half their fleet bugging out. That's when we knew we hadn't ended anything. We'd just kicked open the front door to something ancient and angry. So, we did what humans do best when the universe throws a tantrum. We called for more ammo, reinforced the perimeter, and got ready to kill a myth. By the time reinforcements arrived, the jungle had gone still. No bugs, no wind, even the enemy had pulled back, like they knew something bigger was coming and didn't want to be anywhere near ground zero. We weren't so lucky. We were the Terran Legion. Luck wasn't part of our job description. Dropships cut through the clouds, fanning the treetops with rotor wash and churning up ash from the temple's site. Out came 2 fresh platoons, ammo crates, mobile artillery, and Most beautiful of all, a portable rail mortar system. Lieutenant Rivas took command, her voice all steel and caffeine. This is a hold and observe mission now. Until command says otherwise, we dig in, watch the hole, and shoot anything that tries to crawl out of it. We layered mines, motion trackers, and even thermal lures to confuse anything not human. The engineer set up reinforced bunkers, and someone even got the coffee units running, which, honestly, felt more miraculous than the beacon. I did a lap of the perimeter with Lozano and Shu, checking positions, exchanging the usual banter. Think we'll get hazard pay for fighting whatever lives in the basement of a dead god? Etzel asked. Only if it eats half the platoon first, Lozano said. HR loves dramatic numbers. That night, under a sky streaked with distant fire from the retreating Confederation fleet, we sat around a hot barrel heater and waited. Tension buzzed through the air like static. Even Burke stayed quiet. Nobody said it, but we all felt it. Something was coming. We didn't know what. But it would be big, fast, and probably wanted to wear our bones like jewelry. Me? I wasn't scared. I was pissed. They sent us to this rock thinking it'd be a cleanup job. Instead, we were the tip of the spear. Again. I didn't join the Legion for glory. I joined because someone needed to remind the galaxy that humanity doesn't scare easy. We sharpened our blades in nuclear fire. We evolved during extinction events, and when the stars come screaming, we scream back louder. It started around 3:00, that cursed hour where every bad story begins. The tremors came first, not shaking but breathing. The ground rose and fell like a lung. Machinery rattled, coffee spilled. One of the greenies puked into his helmet. Can't blame him. The crater lit up again, not just the beacon this time. The whole pit glowed red, like magma. But wrong. Too smooth, too deliberate. Like a wound being peeled open. We scrambled into positions. Railguns charged, auto turrets went live, and the artillery crews braced the mortars. Contact soon, I said over comms, steady and calm even as my pulse spiked. I'd led squads into hive ships and dust storms on Europa. But this felt different, like staring down an avalanche and knowing it had eyes. Then it emerged, slow, deliberate, towering. First one limb, then a second. The thing was biomechanical, all sinew and alloy, carved with the same ancient patterns we'd seen in the temple. Humanoid, vaguely, but its proportions were wrong. Too tall, too thin, and it moved like gravity didn't apply. Jesus, someone muttered. That's not a monster. That's a message. The air went cold. Real cold. Frost bloomed on armor plates. HUDs flickered. I saw Rivas yell something. Couldn't hear her. Just static. Then the thing looked at us. No eyes. Just a burning slit down its face that pulsed like a radar ping. My targeting system scrambled. Lozano's gun seized. Even the drones fell from the sky. EMP? No. Something worse. This wasn't just tech, this was designed to break minds. Burke squeezed off the first shot, a rail spike right to center mass. It hit. The thing staggered. Then it turned its head slowly toward Burke's position and let out a sound I'll never forget. Not a roar, not a scream, an invitation. We opened fire like thunder. Railguns screamed, mortars thumped, turrets spat metal death. The crater lit up with tracer lines and shock waves. The thing in the pit, we started calling it the relic, didn't even flinch at first. Bullets sparked off its armor. One mortar round landed square in its chest and knocked it back a step. That was our first and last win for the next 5 minutes. Then it retaliated, not with weapons, with sound. A pulse of noise like sonar, and a migraine hit a demon baby. Burke dropped his rifle and screamed, blood pouring from his ears. Harker's visor cracked. My HUD turned to static and stayed there. Still, we fought. Half blind, half mad, fully committed. That's the Terran way. I yelled for fallback. Tactical repositioning, not retreat. We funneled fire through choke points and launched decoy drones to distract it. That gave our engineers time to prime the rail mortar. 2 shells. One shot, pointed straight into the thing's center mass. "It won't be enough," Rivas said. "Then aim for the chest and pray it's got a heart," I replied. We lured it toward the blast zone with suppressive fire and sheer human pettiness. Burke, now bleeding from his nose, flipped it off and screamed, "Come get some, you ancient bitch!" It did. The relic moved toward him with a grace that made my skin crawl. Just as it stepped into the mortar's crosshairs, I gave the signal. Boom, white light, silence. The relic staggered, took one step, and dropped. The crater dimmed. Our HUDs flickered back on. For a second, no one moved. Then I exhaled and said the words every grunt dreams of. "Target down, area secure, somebody get me a drink." The crater was quiet. Not peaceful, just too quiet, like the jungle was holding its breath. We stood there, half of us shaking, the other half coughing up dust and blood. The relic's corpse steamed in the pit, its plating cracked, that burning slit of a face, dark and lifeless. Burke tapped it with a boot. "What's the protocol for deicide?" Sue asked. "Paperwork," I said. So much paperwork. We started cleanup, patching the wounded, dragging damaged drones back, doing the usual. Standard procedure after any major contact is a threat assessment and decontamination scan. That's when the readings started acting weird. Tex called it residual energy. I called it bad news. The thing wasn't powering down, it was leaking something. Data? Memory? Rage? No one knew. Then, a tremor. Just one. Enough to knock over a field rack. The corpse didn't move, but the crater did. It started sinking, like a plug getting pulled. Plates shifted, stone snapped, and the whole damn pit spiraled into a sinkhole. We scrambled back, hauling gear, yelling over the rising hum. Whatever was beneath the relic, we hadn't killed it. The sinkhole stopped collapsing just shy of our front line. Where the corpse had been, a black monolith now stood. Same height, same shape, same eerie carvings. Carr scanned it and nearly fainted. "This thing's transmitting," she whispered. "Coordinates? Not here, not even local systems. It's calling something." Rebus paled. "What the hell did we wake up?" Nobody had answers, so we did the only thing we knew how. Built new defenses, reinforced the perimeter, and waited. We'd killed the body, but if that thing had friends, or a purpose, then the fight wasn't over. It was just changing gears. The monolith kept broadcasting for 6 hours. We couldn't decrypt the signal, but it pulsed in intervals, not random, rhythmic, purposeful. Cower described it as more like a warning buoy than a beacon. I wasn't sure which would be worse. Either way, the message was clear. Someone, or something, out there was listening. Confed Orbit finally grew a spine and sent a science ship. The lab geeks floated down in vacuum-sealed suits, poked the monolith with scanners, then immediately tried to cordon off the site. One even tried to tell me to move my squad out of range. "This is now a Confederation research priority," he said, smug and nasal. I looked him dead in the visor and said, "Buddy, this rock tried to kill me 3 times. That makes it my emotional support battlefield." Then came the second signal. Not from the monolith, from off-world. We picked it up on deep scan radar. A gravity spike, inbound trajectory, mass the size of a small moon. No transponder, no ID, no known drive signature. Just moving fast and ignoring every hailing protocol. "That's not a ship," Lozano muttered. "That's a statement." Command went red alert. Confed ships scrambled like ants under a magnifying glass. Our orders were to hold position, continue securing the monolith. I asked if we were supposed to fight the moon. HQ didn't respond. Typical. "Well," I told the squad, "looks like we've got visitors. Let's make sure they get the warmest possible welcome." As the gravity signature neared orbit, the sky began to ripple, stars bending at the edges like water around a drain. We didn't know what was coming, but we knew one thing. The galaxy had finally noticed Earth was in the room, and we weren't going to whisper. The thing dropped into orbit without warning. No deceleration burn, no courtesy hail, just a sudden presence in the sky like someone turned on a second, angrier moon. Every satellite fried. Half the Confederation ships bugged out. The other half started charging weapons like they meant to shoot the damn planet to stop it. From the surface, it looked like a mountain of obsidian drifting silently overhead. No lights, no markings, just that oppressive gravity well pulling at the atmosphere. And then it opened. Sections peeled back like petals, revealing something inside. Massive, circular, spinning. Not a weapon. Not exactly. A gate. We watched as smaller shapes poured out of the structure, like hornets from a nest. Not ships, more like biomech drones. Organic shapes with plasma trails, moving in perfect formation. No communication, no hesitation. They didn't scout. They descended, straight toward the monolith. Straight toward us. Rivas didn't even wait for orders. All positions, weapons free, this is not a drill. The jungle erupted again, but this time from above. We fired everything we had, railguns, mortars, plasma repeaters. The air filled with screaming metal. Drones exploded mid-air, flaming wrecks crashing into trees, others carving straight into our defensive line like razors. For every one we dropped, 2 more replaced it. I saw a drone slice clean through a bunker wall and impale the corporal inside. Hessu lobbed a sticky grenade into a swarm and yelled, "Welcome to Earth, assholes!" It was chaos. Beautiful, brutal chaos. And somewhere above, the gate kept spinning. We fought for 7 straight hours. No resupply, no backup, just grit, stubbornness, and the kind of violent optimism that makes humans exceptionally hard to kill. Our fortifications turned to craters. The monolith pulsed brighter with every wave we repelled, like it was counting down, or cheering. I'd lost track of how many drones we'd shredded. I just knew we weren't done. The jungle was unrecognizable. What hadn't been burned was buried. The trees had all gone. What we had left were twisted, blackened stumps and broken gear. I climbed over a shredded autocannon, dragging Harker. He'd caught a blade through his side, but he was still breathing. "You good?" I asked. "Still got 1 lung and a bad attitude," he coughed. "That's the spirit." Above us, the gate shuddered. Chunks of its outer shell broke off and tumbled into atmosphere, burning like meteorites. Then the pulse changed, faster, sharper. Kaur screamed over comms. "It's not just transmitting anymore, it's charging." The thing in orbit wasn't sending drones, it was building something. Charging some kind of energy array that made my spine go cold just looking at it. We were out of heavy ordnance, out of anti-orbital. Hell, we were down to 2 mortars and Burke's last bottle of contraband whiskey. And that's when Rivas made the call. "If we can't shoot it down, we'll cut the damn wire." She pointed at the monolith. "That signal? We kill it, maybe we stall the whole system." Burke raised his flask. "So we're punching a demigod's phone tower? Sounds about right." So we set the last of our demo packs on the monolith. The others covered me while I climbed. That bastard was still radiating enough heat to melt boots. Each pack clicked into place with a grim satisfaction. I paused at the top, looked out at the burning world and thought of Earth, of why we fight. Then I smiled and said, "Let's turn off the lights." And I pressed the trigger. The monolith exploded like a second sun. A shockwave tore through the jungle, flattening trees we hadn't even seen yet. Drones in midair dropped like puppets with cut strings, twitching and smoking as they hit the dirt. The sky didn't cheer. It screamed. The orbital structure above began to shudder, glitch, and then fold. Not explode, like space itself forgot how to hold it together. The light faded, the hum stopped, and then there was silence. Not the eerie kind we'd felt before. This was different. This was earned, a silence paid for in blood, sweat, and enough tungsten to sink a continent. I sat there in the crater, armor blackened, ears ringing, watching the sky calm like someone had pulled a cosmic plug. Behind me, what remained of our platoon regrouped, tattered, limping, laughing like lunatics. Rivas walked up, still holding her side where she'd taken a fragment. "So," she said, voice rasped, "you ever think we're too good at picking fights with the unknowable?" I grinned through the blood and soot. "Nah, they're just really bad at picking fights with us." She snorted. "Gonna look great on the after-action report." Burke, limping and half covered in drone goo, added, "We should charge them for pest control." We spent the next 2 days securing what was left. Confederation reinforcements finally showed up, acting like they were about to save the day. Too late. They brought medics and red tape, but not a damn ounce of gratitude. The usual. Still, the message had been sent. Loud and clear. Don't send diplomats to a knife fight. Don't send explorers to a god fight. Send us. And as we watched the stars realign, our battered unit huddled around a fire made from drone wreckage. I looked up and smiled, raising Burke's now empty flask. "To humanity," I said. The universe's worst neighbor. The others raised theirs. Mugs, helmets, whatever wasn't full of holes. And the stars didn't blink. They just watched.